How do you bring Agile into project management? Today's topic on all things discipline Agile. I'm Joshua Barnes, and I am joined today by Chastine Lynch. And Chastine is both a project manager and an Agilist. She is a professional project manager via the PMP designation, as well as all of the DA certifications. I think also a Six Sigma black belt. And you train, right? So you do instruction for
Mhm.
both the PMP and the DA courses as well. So, Chastine, welcome to the discussion.
Yes, thanks, Josh. I'm really excited to be here today. This is one of my absolute favorite topics.
Yeah, and so one of the things I thought we could kind of get started with is, one of the things that I see in the customers, we currently support and have supported now for quite some time is, from an Agile perspective, project managers sometimes get kind of concerned. Well, there's no project manager in Agile, or how much of this Agile do I need to understand? And one of the things I like to ask is, do project professionals, are they able to recognize what an actual Agile way of working is versus a hybrid way of working? We know that there's, I think, with all the approaches that are out in the marketplace and the industry these days, and we see a maybe less and less of what could be considered pure Agile or Agile to some minimal degree. I mean, there's so much hybrid that's out there. But project professionals, how do they really understand, or where can they learn about what an Agile way of working is?
Yeah, Josh, it's such a great question. And in the world of project management, it kind of depends on which PMBOK you were raised on, because we see this huge existential change between PMBOK 7 or PMBOK 6. And if PMBOK 6 is how you train to get your PMP, there's this huge portion that you're missing, we see in the PMBOK 7 that introduces Agile to us and how we recognize an Agile project.
So for those of you that are out there that maybe have not taken a step forward within sort of the Project Management Institute and the PMP certification, so PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah, my project management body of knowledge. So yeah, so there was a really significant change within the last revision, right? It's what, like 50% of the exam questions and content is like hybrid and Agile content. So it definitely is an opportunity to begin learning at
Mhm.
least what Agile is, and again, what this hybrid, right, where we're maybe still doing a lot of things that would be more of that traditional predictive waterfall. I mean, all the different ways we call that sort of approach, and blending in some things from an Agile way of working.
Yeah, and not only do we see that addition to Agile, but we depart from the idea that any delineation from all of the process groups is heresy. To, hey, contextualize your project and your approach, and you should be making changes when it's applicable.
Yeah. So how about this next question? So yeah, I've got some questions already prepared for you. So do team level coaches, right? Whether they're called a team coach, a scrum master, DA calls them team leads, like who is watching over the situation we see where we've got people in these roles that really don't have a lot of experience, or have a minimal amount of training that they've gone through, right? Sometimes we'll see people in this role that have never actually been part of a team that's used an Agile way of working it. They're the ones that are in a position then to be supporting the
Mhm.
team's adoption. Not great.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit about this before we went live about companies trying to make these agile transformations, and you're waterfall one day and the next day you're agile, and there really isn't much in between. And so when you are afforded the opportunity to have a coach come in and coach on processes and to identify different approaches and contextualize your work, so much better than the kind of like set it and forget it approach that we see with a lot of companies.
Yeah. So in your background and experience, right? I mean, you've got experience in being a project manager that was in that more waterfall traditional approach, and then you've also gotten into the agile space quite some long ago. So, can you kind of give just everyone a bit of an overview of like how you were able to step into the agile journey and how others can do the same?
Yeah, I love the story because I did start off about 12 years ago in very traditional project management. I was in telecommunications, tons of regulatory steps that we have to take, and really followed that, every step in the PMBOK to a T.
Mhm.
And then in 2019, I was afforded the opportunity to be part of the disciplined agile transition with PMI. And I instantly loved everything about disciplined agile because I seen how it was a toolkit I could bring into my project management. And Josh, that's how you and I got to meet, taking your
Right.
training, loved it, and went through the whole suite of certifications. Bringing agile, and very specifically disciplined agile, into my skill set has put me on a trajectory career wise that I don't know that I could have ever dreamed of, because it has prepared me for so many different situations. I'm working these amazing projects that I don't think I would have the skill set if I didn't have that robust tool set that I can bring into my project management skill set.
Yeah, and so here's right an item that came up by Neckens Colin. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. So companies vary on their adoption of agile development. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you kind of have this discussion with you is, you bring up Discipline Agile, right? Discipline Agile is one of the agile brands within PMI now. And what's great about it is there are so many different ways that you can create a true way of working for a given, company, maybe with even an area within the company or, at the team level, right? Because we can take the Scrum-like approach. We can do an iterative, a time boxed, right? That's the agile life cycle in discipline agile. But we can also do a flow-based approach, right? A
Mhm.
Kanban approach, lean life cycle. There's continuous delivery if we're, got a mature product. If we're doing maintenance work, right, where we're regularly able to make, very frequent releases, let alone program stuff and value stream management stuff. So, yeah, it does really vary. And so, in the journey then for somebody who is a project manager and stepping into learning more about agile, right? Whether
Mhm.
again it's taking a PMP prep course and challenging the exam, since now there's a good portion of the content that's agile based and hybrid based. What are some of the other things that we want to see? Like you mentioned, DA, right? I mean, DA is a toolkit and it's a knowledge base. How do you work with project managers for them to understand they have a source of information, the equivalent to the PMBOK, but it's online and it's a great little tool?
So, Josh, you are talking about the DA browser. I love the DA browser. And one of the things I tell project managers when I'm working with them one on one or with a company is we don't have to announce to the whole room or to the whole team, like, hey, we're doing Agile. We can go to the DA browser, the Discipline Agile browser, and it's taken all these great methodologies from all these different frameworks and it's reorganized it based off of phases. And this is a very translatable way of approaching your work with project managers because we work in phases. And so you can go to these steps that would be in each phase and find all these great how-tos that you can bring into your process. And again, you can do it very unceremoniously. You just, as a project manager, go in there and go, let's try this out. Let's see what the team thinks. And then it doesn't work or it does work. You make adjustments and you be agile with it. And so the DA, I kind of live and breathe by that DA browser.
Yeah, so I'll bring up something else I did have populated in here. So yeah, one of the things if you're a project manager, and again, maybe you are just starting to get a little more awareness of what Agile is and what it means, right? And you hear team members, again, you hear a Scrum Master, a team level coach, an enterprise coach, whatever, talking about something, right? Oftentimes it's like, well, I'll go back to my desk or, I'll get off the Zoom call or Teams meeting or whatever, and I'll just go to Google and I'll try and see if I can find what that is. The thing about Google, which I think Google is probably the biggest competitor to Discipline Agile, or at least to the DA browser, is it provides the practices, the strategies, the terms, all of that in specific context, right? So that tool provides a brief description. It gives you some trade-offs of when this may or may not work. There's related links and so forth, but you can see related practices through that, right? And so you have a much clearer picture of the things that people are talking about right within that tool, which is super beneficial.
Yeah, and you mentioned Scrum, and I think that's probably the most recognizable term in an Agile sense, especially for project managers. We hear Scrum all the time. It's a lightweight framework, but it only takes you so far, and you often, in my experience, need assistance outside of what that Scrum framework gives you. And yeah, to your point, the DA browser definitely gives that to you.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, so Scrum is clearly probably the most persistent and long-lasting approach to Agile, right? And if you haven't gone through Scrum training, you haven't taken like a Scrum.org course or whatever, you might be left with only having the Scrum guide as the body of knowledge, right? So you get a Scrum guide, it's 13 pages, right? Which is one of the reasons why I think Scrum has been so persistent, because that is a small body of knowledge, doesn't change very often. Quite a mature body of knowledge, since it's small and again doesn't change very frequently. But you do have to understand things beyond what's in that, right? Because you need more than that if you're delivering a project or a given quantity of work. And so team members, just like project managers or program managers, right, really benefit from having, again, a body of knowledge that they can go to and very quickly find information on. So we'll put in the comments, we'll put a link to the DA browser. That's something PMI has made since they acquired the Discipline Agile intellectual property a couple of years ago. They've made not only improvements to that knowledge base, but is freely available. All you need to know is the link to be able to get to it, and really nothing more. One of the things that you mentioned also that I think is important as far as bringing Agile into the project management space is that, we see a lot of these not great approaches with Agile, right? We see that there's not a good starting point. There's no governance. It's like, well, we're Agile. That doesn't mean it's a complete free-for-all and you get to do an ad hoc process. So you mentioned phases, and I think that's something else that for project professionals, it's important to understand that, with DA in particular, there are phases, right? And now those phases are designed to be, again, achieve certain outcomes. We're looking at sort of a very lean, lightweight approach to milestones, right? So it's not a phase gate approach.
Right.
It's based on outcomes. But that's something else that I think is really important for project managers to understand, is that we do want to see things unfolding in a way that's going to reduce risk, right? Reduce what we call, again, accumulated impact, right? The work that has not been completed at any given point in time. So there's a lot of things that project managers, again, can really start to get a better understanding about.
Yeah, and what else you get? So, not to pick on Scrum, because Scrum is a great foundation, but Scrum and other Agile frameworks make the assumption that the funding has been put together, your team's been put together, the backlog's been groomed, the scope's been groomed, probably risk has been assessed, and it sits you down with your team and it tells you how to develop and deploy. Project managers, most of the time, have to be real generalized specialists. So we have to do everything. We need to put the team together. We need to do the business case, the charter, the funding, the scoping, the risk, the stakeholder identification, all this stuff. You get that in the DA browser as well. And so it's the only framework I know of where you can, take that full encompassing. Project managers are start to finish, soup to nuts. How do you start it? How do you close it? And it gives you that in so many options.
Right. Okay. So let's I got two other things I really wanted to get some discussion going with you on. So one is, okay, so you're a project manager and you're, again, you're ready to either move forward with becoming professional level certification. But one of the things that we find in the Agile space, or probably all training, is depending on who you're going to take your training from is going to make a big difference, right? So, I mean, there are trainers that basically just know courseware content. There are instructors that have a much deeper level of experience and expertise that they're also doing instruction work. So can you kind of paint the picture based on your experience, what you would recommend? And I know for all of it, it's going to be a little bit biased, right? Because Chastine does teach both PMP and DA stuff. But yeah, I mean, what would you recommend as a path, a coupling or bundling of courses? What should people be looking for?
Yeah, when I'm teaching a PMP, I'm very honest with everyone. I failed my first test, and then I took the remaining year to study. It's so I didn't take a boot camp. I didn't take a prep course. I did it all on my own, and it's so much information. You really need a foundation. You need a compass of what to study, what's important, and there's a very specific theme and style to these PMP exams, and then some DA exams that you get in that prep course, that you really don't get on your own. So you get in the PMP that introduction to Agile. We start seeing that come in, talking about your way of working. It takes that focus from the process groups and our knowledge areas, and it moves it more into delivering value and how to work with people, in addition to those skill sets. And so I really recommend having those boot camps, because there's just so much to try and comprehend, and you only have a year to do it. So from the time your application is approved, you only have a year to take that exam. And that might seem like a long time, but oftentimes you're going to need it, and that prep course really gives you that foundation. And I see people able to study and pass in just a couple of months when they have a good boot camp, a good prep course underneath their belt. As far as bundles, like if you bring in disciplined Agile with the project management, not only do I think it's going to make you a better project manager, but I think it's going to solidify more your skill sets that you're going to need to pass that exam, because the ideology is there, the way of thinking. And so with the PMP exam and the DA exam, it wants you to have a comprehensive understanding. So it's not going to be questions that you've read verbatim out of the textbook. It's going to give you situational questions, and it wants to know that you're thinking like an Agile project manager, that you're taking these steps into consideration. So plus you get some cool certifications. So adding those two together, I think is great. But yeah, I really recommend getting those foundations before you dive into the studying that's required.
Yeah, and one of the things, right? I mean, if you're a project manager, and again, you're gonna, you're at a point, whether in your career, your experience level, just again, you're needing to become a PMP, right, professional certification. The continued learning journey from an Agile perspective, yeah, there's lots of options. Yeah, sure, you could go to Scrum Alliance. I see there's a comment right at Scrum Alliance. You could go to scrum.org. You could take a SAFe course, write a scaled approach. One of the things, though, that I'll say that is different with disciplined Agile is that you're not just learning one way of working. And I think that's something that people that are, again, project managers, program managers, operational managers that, again, are going to get a professional project certification, is that the benefit of DA is that it does cover all of the different types of approaches in the Agile space, right? Again, time box, right? Sprint based, again, Kanban based, continuous delivery, right? The ones that I'd mentioned just a little bit ago. So you do have a much more breadth of different sort of types of agile
Mhm.
and lean ways of working. The other thing, and I'm going to pull this up, right? So yeah, if you take a career step away from project management, come back and again learn about agile. One of the other things I'll say that is great within the DA content is there is value stream management opportunities for learning. And I think what we'll probably, or I'm hoping what we're going to start seeing is a shift away from the project management office to becoming a value delivery office. It's sometimes called, right, a value management office, but let's be more focused on the delivery of value to our customers, which again can be either internal or external. So that's the other thing that this will be at least providing a really solid foundation on is value delivery and value flow management is such an opportunity for project professionals.
Absolutely. So for the project managers out there, if you're hearing like the word value stream for the first time, that's okay, but definitely go out and start familiarizing yourself with this term because I think it's going to be the way of the world pretty shortly here. One of the things I see most often with my clients is they're trying to solve for the wrong problem. So they keep throwing things at the wrong problem and nothing gets fixed. And you get that with that value management, that flow management and disciplined agile. Project management. So Dan had a great question. If I step away from project management and I come, in 2 years, is disciplined agile going to be all that you need? Hard to say.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
maybe there's some very big existential shifts, even in funding, where you're seeing people move away from funding with your company for the full 12 months and doing a more lean funding where you're doing it just maybe every 3 months, and we're paying more attention to value delivery, and we're doing value stream management instead of project management. The trajectory says that this is the way that the industry is trending. I still think that the PMP as it is today, that PMBOK 7, gives you that real foundation that you need, especially if you want to make that move into an agile way of working.
A couple of things. So yeah, I've been certified by all the usual Agile groups. I take pieces from each. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, the more breadth you've got in different ways of working that can help you make decisions for the context you're facing, right? The next quantity of work, the risk level of that work, the domain knowledge you have within it, the types of team members that you have, all those types of things are fantastic. And then we've got, Dan, I'm hearing that term for the first time, and I'm assuming that term being, value stream management. And there are, I think just a beginning awareness of what really taking a look from an end-to-end perspective, right? So taking a look at the value streams that exist within your organizations, right? And how the work that flows through those streams is aligned up to, initiatives and strategic objectives, right? So, or are they aligned? And how we can see, for instance, project managers having a very significant impact in some of the factors for effective value streams, things like, building in small increments and few delays in the workflow and quick feedback. And right, we have a number of those factors that we look at in value stream management and how we're able to see improvements in the value we're delivering when focusing on those. And again, oftentimes no one's focusing on those, or not one person is focusing on a lot of the factors, right? So again, I think that's a tremendous opportunity for project managers that aren't going to go through an Agile training course or, in one way or another. I mean, we're not going to see a lot of them wanting to transition into being like a Scrum Master or team level coach, right? Again, most project managers are pretty senior in their experience. We're not going to see maybe them becoming team members, right, on an Agile team. So all these other things that really lend themselves to that background and experience that project managers have is, a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, and I think too, with Discipline Agile in the DA browser, it's so translatable to traditional project management where you can start bringing in those elements where other Agile frameworks feel a little less translatable. Although not impossible, but the DA is just so, very, very easy for project managers to start bringing in. And then I just wanted to circle back real quick on Lakira's comment. And yes, like getting all those certifications, I look at that and I think you understand that your projects need to be contextualized, because there's so many different approaches that projects need to take. And you're right, like the bigger breadth of our certifications oftentimes can equal, being able to take on larger, more unique projects.
All right. So the last thing I really wanted to discuss with you is, so if you are a project manager, you took you became a PMP years ago, right? What's the best way to sort of bridge that gap between now the current content, right? Because there is Agile content in that. So if you're already recognized project professional, what are some of the things that you'd recommend as far as gaining more knowledge about Agile ways of working?
Yeah, I think, the DA, the Discipline Agile Scrum Master, is such an amazing place to bridge that information, and a great way to be able to expand the type of projects you're going to be able to take. And what's great about the Discipline Agile Scrum Master course is you don't have to have any background in Agile, right? You can come over as a project manager and you can get the foundations that you need to bridge that information, start having Agile conversations, maybe bringing in, some of the steps that we take in Agile, and bridging that gap between maybe your PMBOK 6 or PMBOK 5 or sometime before, and then bring in that Agile way of working.
Have you, since you deliver both the PMP prep course as well as the Discipline Agile Scrum Master course, have you ever had a delivery, for instance, of the DASM course that you targeted just at project managers? So it's more of the discussion and examples and scenarios and so forth that are more related to sort of project management versus, again, just team members, whoever else might be in a public open enrollment type course.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, work with a lot of different PMI chapters and their chapter members to bring in disciplined Agile and start introducing this, to our ecosystem, because I truly believe it makes us more robust in our approach. And yeah, honestly, I think if there was one group I had to pick out that would benefit the most from the Discipline Agile Scrum Master course, it would be people who are currently project managers, especially if you haven't taken on any of those Agile roles. And you get to be a Discipline Agile Scrum Master afterwards.
How about, this is a great question. What about people without the PMP background?
Well, if you don't have a PMP background, I would definitely suggest taking the PMP course. Absolutely, especially if that's the certification you want. The thing is with the PMP certification, it's really hard to get. Purposefully, if it was easy, everyone would have it and it wouldn't mean anything. And one of the things that the PMP, certification represents is your dedication to honing in on your craft and learning the skill sets based off of the standardizations from PMI. So if you want to see a trajectory change in your career and your skill sets, take the PMP. If you want to really be robust and have a lot of staying power on your resume, you can take like the PMP and a DA Scrum Master course together and really build out your certifications and your skill set.
Yeah, excellent. Let me see if there might be any other questions that have come up that we might have missed if we come through. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean so we had all the topics, discussion points that I was hoping for. Anything else you would like to share with everyone?
I just really want to relate to the project managers who are out there that just feel like, Agile is scary and it's this completely different nomenclature and nothing really makes sense. With Agile, the concept behind Agile is to do things small and incrementally, not make huge changes all at once. And so if you are interested in bringing Agile into the way that you work or your skill sets, just try small little steps, small little changes, see how they work for you. Do guided continuous improvement. Everyone who loves Edward Deming and our plan, do, check, act, we can check, do scientific experiments with our work, check the empirical data and go, that worked, that didn't work, let me make a change. You don't have to make this complete and total change in the way that you work. I feel like people maybe have like this identity crisis. Am I a project manager? Am I an Agile? You can do both. You can bring them in small pieces at a time and just go from there.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming through. So I'll thank everyone for either watching this live today with us, and again, all of the great comments and questions, as well as anybody that might be watching this on replay. If you do have any other thoughts you'd like to share based on your experience, project manager, getting into the Agile space, or you have additional questions for us, please just post on LinkedIn. We'll reply as quickly as possible. Chastine, thank you very much for the time that you've got with us today. And I'm looking forward to the next discussion that we have.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye, everyone. We'll see you on the next live stream.
Bye.